to the 0 power is 1. First rule. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So, what do I mean by power? Do y'all know the little exponents like 2 to the 0? See how that's a little exponent? It's 1. Okay? Negative 3 to the 0 is 1. 100 to the 0 power, guess what it is? 1. Okay, anything to the 0 power is 1. If you don't know that, say you forget, you don't need to forget, that's rule 1. You can just type this in your calculator. Watch. 4 to the 0 power, and I'll show you how I did that in just a second. Guess what it is? It's 1. Okay, how do you type to the 0? So I'm going to do negative 3. Notice I put it in parentheses. When you have a negative, you want to put it in parentheses, okay? Now the to the 0 power, see this little up arrow right here above my finger? Where H is, that's a little up. I call it the to the button, but it's just a little up arrow. So I'm going to raise that. I press the up button and it does that. And I type in 0. And it is 1. Watch what happens if I didn't do the negative in parentheses. What did it tell me? My answer is negative 1. Okay, so just be careful when you use your calculator. If they put it in parentheses, you put it in parentheses, okay, on your calculator. Because this looks like it should be the same answer. This one is positive 1, this one is negative 1. Because it's saying negative 3 to the 0. Anything to the 0 power, it's 1. This is saying 3 is raised to the 0 power. And what are they doing with that negative? They're bringing it over. Okay, that's why it's weird. But that's our first rule. How do we feel about that? This whole chapter, or no, I should say, well, let me tell you what the chapter is called Exponents and Exponential Functions. All exponents in this chapter, okay? So powers, that's another way to say it. How do we feel about that first one? First rule, we've got it. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, the next one says, if you have a negative exponent, you can make it positive. You just move it to the other side. Okay, and what do I mean to the other side? Like if it's in the numerator, what would the other side be? The denominator. If it was in the denominator, what would the other side be? The numerator, up top. Okay, so you just flip it and it becomes positive. Because the book or your lessons, they don't want negative exponents. So let me show you a few of these, and then I'm still going to go through examples. This one says, okay, I have the number 7 to the negative 3. Okay, yes, I can type that in my calculator. I can. But what it wants us to do is, okay, it has a negative exponent, so I have to move it. Well, this one doesn't look like a fraction, but what you're going to do is put 1 over 7 to the 3rd. Does everybody understand that? See how I moved it and I put it in the denominator? So you put a 1 in the numerator. Which is 1 over, let's finish solving this one out. What is 7 to the 3rd power? It's 343. And watch this. What if I put 7 to the negative 3? 7 to the negative 3. Well, it gives me some decimal. How do I get a fraction? What do you do to get a fraction? Math, enter. And look, it gives me the answer. You have to remember the rule though, because sometimes we're about to deal with a lot of variables. You can't put a variable in your calculator. So you'll have to know the rule. But anyway, on these, your calculator can also figure it out for you if it's a number. Let's do several more.
What was the rule for that one?
Negative exponents. I don't really know. I just say you move it to the other side. Here's the 2 rules how the book has them. Okay. I know it's a little blurred. Your 0 exponent, a to the 0 is 1. Any number raised to the 0 is 1. And then it says a negative exponent, as long as it's not 0. If you have a negative exponent, and then they do this little thing where they say, okay, if it's raised to the negative, you move it to the other side. That's basically how I would sum it up. You just move it to the other side. Which in this case, they're all moved to the denominator. That's going to change in just a little bit. Okay. And like I said, if you just saw that, would you know to do that? No, you probably have no idea. But it's not difficult. It's just a rule that you'll have to remember. And we'll keep adding rules through the chapter. And see, this one, they did this example, -5 raised to the -2, so they moved it to the denominator, and it's -5 to the second power. Your exponent becomes positive. And you would put that in parentheses like that, okay? And your calculator would tell you it's 1/25. Okay, let me just do a whole bunch of these examples, and then we'll start with some variables, okay? Everybody good with that? Let's go through several. This is what your paper is going to be like on Thursday, I believe. All right, what happens with 9 to the -2? What do I do with that one? 9 to the -2. What happens since it has a negative exponent? Yeah, move it to the bottom. Put a 1 over it. 1 over 9 squared. What is 9 squared? 81. There you go. See, I just take my 9 to the -2 and I move it to the bottom. The exponent becomes positive. That's what you're trying to do.
Is that only if you have a negative exponent?
Only, yes, if that's the rule, only for a negative exponent. Okay? Let's do, here we go, -3.6 to the 0 power. What's that going to be? What's anything raised to the 0 power? 1. There you go. You can type both of these in your calculator so far. Yes, you can, but you have to know these rules. Okay? The next one, what is 6 to the -1? What do I do with that one? I'm going to put 1 over that. Okay? And what is 6 to the 1? It's just 6. There you go. So it's 1 over 6. Okay? Do we need any more that are just the numbers like that?
No.
No? Okay. Now we're going to add variables to it. Okay? So all these I could just type in my calculator. Watch. 6 to the -1. 6 to the -1. Now that's going to give me a decimal. I'm going to press math, enter.
I was just going to tell you, Julia Grace brought these to me, so I'm going to change it out.
Oh, okay. Nice. And so you get 1/6, which was our answer, okay? As long as it's just a number, you can put it in your calculator. Here's our change. Look at this. 5, a to the 3rd, b to the -2. So we're checking. Now leave it alone if there's nothing wrong with it. Do you see anything raised to the 0 power? No. Okay. Do you see a negative exponent? Yes.
No.
Which one? There's only one thing that has a negative exponent. It's b to the -2. So that is the only thing that you move to the where? The bottom. Okay. So what stays is 5a to the 3rd, and this becomes your b squared. I think it's easier with variables. You might not, but you just move whatever has a negative exponent. That's it. To the other side. Do we kind of get that? Yes, no, a little bit maybe? Okay, we're going to do several. If I have 1 over x to the -5th, what happens with the x? It has a negative exponent, so what happens with it? We move it. If it's in the bottom, where does it go? To the top. So if you want to write 1x to the 5th, you can. Me, I would just write x to the 5th. Do y'all understand that? I moved the x to the 5th to the top, where the 1 was. And that's an understood 1 now. You don't have to write an understood 1. Okay, what about x to the -9th? What do I do with that one? What do I do with x to the -9th? Yeah, move it to the bottom. If I move it to the bottom, I got to put a 1 over it. There you go. Okay, let's do a few more. Here we go. 4c to the negative 3b. Okay, what do I do on this one? Do I move my 4? Nope, 4 is fine. Do I move my c? Yes. So I must move it down here, and it becomes c to the third. Do I move my b? No. You only move it if it has a negative exponent. Which one of those has a negative exponent? Just your c. So does everybody understand why the c to the third moved? So just following your rules. If it has a negative exponent, you move it. Here we go. Another one. Let's do n to the negative 5 over m squared. Okay, does your n need to move? Yes. Does the m need to move? No. So I'm going to put m squared n to the 5th. Since there's nothing up top, what do I write? A 1. Understood? 1. Okay. Does it matter what variable comes first, m or n? No, it doesn't matter. But they're always going to do alphabetical order. L, M, N. Okay. So if you put n to the 5th m squared, it's still correct. Okay. It's the same thing. They're just always going to write it in alphabetical order, the answer. Okay. Do we need one more of those? Yes, no? Are we good with that? We're good so far. Okay. The next one, they may have us evaluate an expression. So this is just simplifying expressions. Evaluate means, okay, we'll simplify it and then get our answer. We'll plug a number in. Okay? So anybody still writing any of this? No. We're almost done with Thursday's lesson. And I may go over a tad bit of Fridays and then we'll be done. We'll kind of finish up. Okay. This next one says evaluate. So they give you 3s squared t to the negative 2. And then they tell you s is 2 and t is negative 3. Okay, does everybody understand what evaluate means? It means plug these in, find the answer. Well, the first thing I would do is figure out this right here. 3s squared is fine. What do I need to do with t to the negative 2? Move it. So I'm just going to write 3s squared divided by t squared. Okay? Because I know what negative 3 squared is. What I don't know is what is negative 3 to the negative 2. So that's why you move it. Negative exponents are confusing. So let's move them and make them positive. That way they're not. Now let's plug it in. Is everybody okay with this so far? So I'm going to put 3 times, what's s? S is 2. S is 2. So I'm going to put 2 squared, which y'all should know what 2 squared is. What is that? What's 2 squared? 4. So we'll get to that in a second. And now t squared. What is t? What do they tell me t is? Negative 3. So notice I'm putting it in parentheses. Okay, it matters. It matters. If they tell you it's negative 3, put it in parentheses. All right, so up here, like y'all said, I'm going to get 3 times 4. And what's negative 3 squared? Be careful. What's negative 3 times negative 3? 9. And it is a positive 9. That's what matters. Okay? So I get 12 over 9, which you could reduce in your calculator, and you get 4/3. I'm pretty sure you could type it all in your if you have a newer calculator, you can do a fraction bar, and you could do 3 times 2 squared over negative 3 squared. Okay, and then press enter, and guess what it gives you? The answer. All right, see how these calculators are fantastic? All right, it did all the work for us. You have to type it in correctly, though. Like, it's only as smart as you are. It can do the math. You have to tell it how to, figure it out. Huh?
The right problem.
Yes, so like the negative 3 had to be in parentheses. If I did not put it in parentheses, the problem would be wrong. It would give us a negative answer, okay? let's do some more where we evaluate. That's the last type of problem for Thursday's lesson. All right. It says, okay, n to the -4, this one's not as bad, w to the 0, and they're going to tell us for all these next few problems I'm going to do, n is -2 and w is 5. What would I do first on this one? What do I do with that negative exponent? What do I do with a negative exponent?
Move it down.
Move it. So I'm going to get w to the 0, which we should all know what that is, over n to the 4th. Now I don't have negative exponents. Now that looks much better. So we can plug in if we need to, all right? So instead of w, what do I plug in? 5 to the 0 power. Do y'all know what 5 to the 0 power is?
1.
Okay, there you go. And then n to the 4th power. So let's put it in parentheses. What is n? -2 to the 4th power. Anytime it's negative, put it in parentheses like that, okay? If they give you that. -2 to the 4th power. I don't even know. Well, I do, but -2 to the 4th power. And it's 16. So we get 1 over 16. How do we feel on these? Is it terrible? Okay, good. Let's do another one. What if I have n to the -1 over w squared? Okay, first of all, how do I simplify that? Do I need to move anything? Yes, I need to move the n. So if I move the n down here, n to the 1 w squared. See how it became positive? Because you moved it. There's nothing up top, so what do I put?
1.
An understood 1. There we go. All right, now we can plug in. So I have -2 to the 1. I'm going to do -2 to the 1. And then what's my w? It's still 5. So w squared is 5 squared. And again, you can type it in on your calculator if you want. That would give us -2 times 25, which is -50. Because -2 to the 1 is -2. 5 squared is 25. And I just multiply them. Again, you could have typed it in your calculator. Oh, you can't see that. 1 over -2 to the 1 times 5 squared. And it's -1 over 50. Okay? Kind of get it? Yeah? A little bit. Let's do one. Do y'all need ones where we just simplify or evaluate? What do y'all need more of? Either of those? Evaluate? Okay. So if I have, let's just simplify. Here we go. 2 new letters. They say, all right, on these next few problems, R is -3 and S is 5. So they give us 3R over S to the -2. Okay, so first thing I need to do, what do I do with a negative exponent? I move it to the other side. So 3R stays, and then up here becomes S squared. So that says 3 times R times S squared. So let me plug those in. Since this is evaluate, we plug them in. So it's 3 times -3 times 5 squared. Okay? So 3 times -3 times 5 squared. You can put that in your calculator. 3 times -3. I'm not raising it to a power, so I don't have to put that one in parentheses. Times 5 squared. Okay? And we get -225. So that's my answer. -225. Okay. How do we feel?
For that one, why did we move
them all to be together and not to their fraction?
Because s was to the negative power, so since it had a negative exponent, I moved it up here to the top. So now they're all together. And there's nothing on the in the denominator anymore. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, anytime it has a negative exponent, your first step is move that exponent. Okay, make it positive. Then you can plug in. Let's do another one. Let's do another one of those. Let's see. Here we go. I have 2 to the negative 4th, r to the 3rd, s to the negative 2. So those are not all going to stay up top, right? I'm going to plug r and s in just a second, but let me move what I need to. What has a negative exponent? The 2 and the s. So those two things have to be moved. Where do I move them? To the bottom. So let me do that. That becomes 2 to the 4th. Since I moved it, it becomes positive. And s squared. Since I moved it, the negative 2 became positive 2. And then my r stays up top. Does that one make sense a little bit? So if it has a positive exponent, it stays. If it has a negative exponent, it has to be moved. Now we'll plug in our numbers. Okay, so r is, I'm looking way up here again, r is negative 3. So I'm going to do negative 3 to the 3rd, put it in parentheses since it's being raised to a power and it was negative. Down here I've got 2 to the 4th and s squared. What is s? 5. So you can work this out separate or type it in your calculator. This time I'll just work it out. That's going to be negative 27. And let's see, 2 to the 4th, is that 16? Yeah. And 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to get negative 27 over, I don't know, let me see what 16 times 25 is. 400. Okay, and I'm not sure if that can be reduced or not, so I'll just type that in my calculator. Negative 27 divided by 400. Math, enter. It can't be reduced. It just spit the same fraction back out. So that's my answer on that one. Okay, so any questions on that one? We get this? Okay, so 2 rules so far today. If it's to the 0 power, what's the answer? 1. And if it has a negative exponent, what do you do with it? Move it. And I'm not saying if it's a negative number you move it. I'm saying if it's a negative exponent. Okay, that's 2 different things. All right? I don't know if I have a problem like that. Oh yeah, like right here. Like negative 3, I don't move that. That's a negative number. Okay? A negative exponent is like this. That's when you move it. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead. We're not getting a sheet today because I'm going to give that to y'all Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So for Friday's lesson, I'm just going to add one more rule to it. I know it's kind of a lot of material, but you can just write it all down. Our next rule, let's see. I'll only do a few of these problems. Okay, they're going to give us a few different problems. So it's got, or several things. Let's see. 12 to the 4th times 12 to the 3rd. Do y'all see that they have the same base? Does everybody see that? But that means 12. What's the base? Sorry, I should start off with that. Our base is 12. What are our exponents? 4 and 3. Okay, so let me show you something. What does it mean? What does 12 to the 4th mean? 12 to the 4th means 12 times 12 times 12 times 12. Does everybody agree with that? What does 12 to the 3rd mean? Yeah, that means 12 times 12 times 12. How many of those are there? 7. So another way to write that, you're saying, is 12 to the 7th. What did you just do with those exponents? That's it. That's our next rule. If they have the same base, you just add the exponents, okay? So that's going to be our rule. We'll do that with variables as well. Like the next one, I'm just gonna make one up. Say that I had 2a, now, and I could actually finish that problem, like, I could type that in my calculator and get an answer. Probably a really big number, so I'm not gonna do that. Say I have 2a squared b times 4a b. Okay, so we're gonna see what matches. First of all, does anybody know what 2 times 4 is? What's 2 times 4? Don't be scared to say it. It's 8. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. Does everybody see that those are just numbers I can multiply? 2 times 4 is 8. All right, so I'm gonna underline those because I've already done those. Now let's look at our a's. They have the same base. So how many a's are there?
2.
This one has 2 and this one has 1. So how many am I going to write for my exponents?
3.
3. A to the third. If you need, I don't know what that didn't write. Okay, look, because see, this is a times a, and then here's another a. How many a's are there? 3. How many b's are there? 2. So what would I write? B squared. So you're adding exponents. What if there's not an exponent? It's an understood 1. There's 1 there. There's 1b there. There's 1a there. There's 1b there. So it's understood 1. So this is I think our last rule that we're going to learn today. Whenever we're multiplying, it's weird. When you're multiplying, you add exponents. Okay? So that's all we did. We just add our exponents. Let me find some more problems for us. Now, I'm not adding any more rules for y'all until next week when I come back. Okay, so let's write down a few more of these for Friday stuff. I tried to leave y'all with easy stuff. Okay, let's do 4z to the 5th times 9z, this one's ugly, to the negative 12. Okay, now I know I have negatives, but look, let's just add exponents. All right, let's multiply our numbers and add our exponents. So what's 4 times 9? Anybody? 4 times 9? 36. Okay, now let's add our z's together. It's okay if it's negative. Y'all can still add that. What's 5 plus negative 12? Negative 7. Z to the negative 7. Okay, is there anything wrong with that answer? Yes. What did we learn earlier today? Which, would have been like yesterday's lesson or whatever. What's z? What do I do with a negative exponent? Move it down. So I get 36 over z to the 7. Okay? Do we kind of get that? Maybe a little bit, maybe not. All right, next, so you're just using your rules. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Negative exponents, we move. Okay, if we're multiplying, we're going to add our exponents. Here we're multiplying. So let's do another one. What if we have, let's see, 2a, this is similar to one I did. 2a times 9b to the 4th times 3a squared. Okay, so we can multiply all the numbers out front. We call those coefficients, by the way, the number. So we can multiply 2 times 9 times 3. What is that going to be? Anybody? 54? Yep, 54. Okay. Now, and if you need to, okay, I took care of those. Let's see what's next. Let's do our A's. How many A's? I'm going to put A to the what?
Third power.
A to the 3rd power. And then how many, let's see, I'll mark those off. And then how many B's are there? Well, just that one set, B to the 4th. There's my answer. Add my exponents. Okay, let's do just a couple more. Okay. Was this hard to add to today's lesson? No. Okay, so y'all are handling it great. I just didn't want to do too much for y'all. And look, on your papers, just do your best. Come back to the video and watch it. There's books back there too. It's the same problems I'm doing, all right, in those books. So you can borrow a book on Thursday or Friday if you need to. Just make sure you attempt every problem. Just attempt it, all right? Let's see. 5x to the 4th times x to the 9th times 3x. So what are the coefficients? What are the numbers out front that I'll multiply? 5 and what's 5 times 3? 15. Okay, so I did those. Now, okay, these are all x's. So I have 4 and 9 and 1. What's that going to equal? 4 and 9 and 1. 14. There we go. X to the 14th. Let me find one where we have some negative again. Let's see. Okay, here's one. This one looks weird. Okay. We have negative m squared times 4r to the 3rd times 12r to the negative 4 times 5m. Okay, so we'll multiply all the numbers first, the coefficients, the numbers out front. So I've got, well, it's negative, that's like a -1. Does everybody understand that? It's like -1 times 4 times 12 times 5. Is everybody okay with those numbers? So, hey, if you don't know what that is, just type that in your calculator. Look, let's go from the beginning. -1 times 4 times 12 times 5. That's lots of numbers on that one. So it's -240. I'll write that down. -240. So I've done that, and that. Now let's do our m's. So I have m squared and m. So how many m's are there? M to the 2 and 1 makes 3. You just add them. How many r's? What is 3 plus -4?
1.
But it's -1. There you go, -1. Am I done? Or this one has one more step. What do we have to do with the negative exponent? Move it. So I have -240 m to the 3rd. That looks great. Those stay. But since that has a negative exponent, I move it down there. And it would probably just say r. R to the 1 is r. I think I'm going to do one last one, and then I guess I'll give y'all a break because I know I've talked the whole class. The only reason I'm doing this one is they write it a little different. Which one do I want? I think I want this one. They write it like this: x to the 5th y squared times x to the -6th y. Y'all, this is just another way to write multiplication. It's the same thing, okay? I could write it like this: x to the 5th y squared x to the -6th y. That still all means multiplication. So don't let the little parentheses confuse you. That just means multiplying. So I'm going to combine my x's. What do? I add those numbers. What's 5? Because there are no numbers out front, right? No numbers to multiply. What's 5 plus -6?
-1.
So I've got x to the -1. What in the world? What happened? Is there a bug up there?
There was one.
It did that.
Really?
That's crazy. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Now how many y's are there?
2.
2, and another one means 3. There's really 3. If I wrote them all out, there would be 2 and 1, which makes 3. So I'm not quite done. My y is okay, so I'm going to leave it up here. What happens to the x? Move it to the bottom. Okay? You can put x to the 1. This is how I would write my answer. I wouldn't put x to the 1, but that's the same thing. Okay? How do we feel?
Good.
We can handle this? All right, so you've got notes. You'll have books in the back, and then I'm going to load this video